Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a video on the 4th world champion sacrificing his queen for a knight. What is this about? It is number 6 in the series The Queen Rules. We have a very spectacular queen move in this game. And who is the 4th world champion? Well, if you know your classics, then you know that it is Alexander Alekhine. Yes, that is, I think, the pronunciation of his name, as I was once told by a Russian grandmaster. Alexander Alekhine from Russia and from France. He played in 1928, 1 year after he had become world champion, a simultaneous display in London in the United Kingdom. And his opponent for this game was a player with the name of Andy Fletcher, and I've not been able to find anything more about this person than his name. As is traditional in simultaneous displays, Alekhine is white. He opened with knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5. We have an English opening, d4, and here c takes d4 is the move, but black played knight c6, and that's not as good because that knight can be kicked straight away, and it went back to b8. We all know the feeling. We have a nice advantage in development, but what to do with it? How do we continue? Black has just thrown away 2 tempi, and let's see how a world champion handles this position with white. Knight c3, d6, g3, g6. Both bishop got fianchettoed and castling from both sides. Bishop f4. Alekhine calmly develops all his pieces. He doesn't feel he has to jump at his opponent's throat because of the knight b8, c6, b8 maneuver which we just saw, which cost black a loss of 2 tempi. He just calmly develops his army. h6, queen d2, that's attacking the h6 pawn with 2 pieces. So king h7 to defend that pawn adequately, and e4, pushing in the center. Knight h5, hitting the bishop on f4, bishop brought back, and knight d7, finally developing his queen side. Alekhine centralizes rook, rook b8, preparing counterplay with b5. That's what black is hoping for. Knight h4, making room for the f-pawn. We'll see that pawn being pushed up in a few moves. And here the engine says knight e5 is the move, and black is doing fine. Maybe Alekhine should have played a bit more energetically to make use of his advantage in development. But in a simultaneous display, it is a good strategy for the stronger player to just put everything harmoniously into play. And that's what Alekhine did. He did not try to refute black's dubious opening play. He just puts his pieces into the game. So knight e5 was a good move. It's attacking the c4 pawn. And after b3 defending that pawn, there is knight g4 and black is okay. But after knight h4, black played not knight e5. He played knight d to f6. h3, keeping the knight away from g4, played by Alekhine. And knight g8. This knight has made an interesting journey from b8 to c6, back to b8, then to d7 to f6, and back to g8. Of his 15 moves, black has made 5 of them with this knight so far. g4, kicking the other knight, went back to f6, and f4. White's space advantage is the main motif here. He has more space to maneuver his pieces behind the pawn chain, waiting for the best moment to break through. Black has to do something. e6, attacking the pawn chain. Knight back to f3, and black took on d5. Taking with both pawns is possible. Alekhine took towards the center. b5, looking for counterplay on the queen side to distract white's pieces from his own attack. e5 from the world champion. b4 hitting the knight, and it's not good to take on f6 because then black takes on c3, hitting the queen. So b takes c3, knight takes f6, and it is okay for black. So after b4, Alekhine retreated his knight, knight d1. Knight e4 from black, hitting the queen, and the queen went to d3, hitting the knight. F5 to protect the knight. And now taking en passant is the best for white. Knight g takes f6 and then knight h4 with an advantage for white according to the engine. But here Alekhine, the world champion, made a mistake. He played another move. It looks very strong. e6. But this is not the best move in the position. It's very easy to criticize Alekhine. Sitting here with an engine 91 years after this game was played. And don't forget, this was a simultaneous display from the world champion. He had many other games to contend with. Queen a5, strong move from black with the threat of bishop a6 with this skewer. Alekhine took on f5. Now this knight is unprotected. So g takes f5 and knight h4. That is a move from a world champion, from a grandmaster, not being afraid of this bishop a6 threat. Knight h4, great move. Here the only move to stay in the game for black is knight g3. But black thought he had a strong move, bishop a6, with that skewer that we talked about. What is the point from white's play? Well, here it comes. Hold on to your hats, because here the world champion Alexander Alekhine sacrifices his queen for a knight. Queen takes e4. Double exclamation mark. What a move. The queen rules. Alekhine had seen that he could checkmate the black king with just 2 of his pieces. We'll see that in a second. What would have happened if bishop takes f1 was played? Well, then rook takes f1, and taking the queen leads to checkmate in a similar way. We'll see what happened in the game. So after rook takes f1, the best move for black is knight e7, and then the queen goes back to b1, defending the a2 pawn, and white has a winning advantage. 2 pieces for the rook and a superior position. But now let's go to the real stuff. After queen takes e4, black could not resist. He took the queen, and that led to a forced checkmate with only 2 of white's pieces. Bishop takes e4 check. This bishop and this knight are going to deliver the checkmate. There are too many holes in black's position. This is actually a nice moment to look for yourself. Can you see the forced checkmate? It's not very difficult. It was much more difficult to see this a few moves ago when Alekhine sacrificed his queen, but now it's pretty simple. So put the video on pause, look for the forced checkmate in a handful of moves from this position. King h8 was played, knight g6 check, the first of 5 consecutive moves with this knight, delivering checkmate on the last move. It's very, very nice. It's a windmill, as we call it in chess. King h7 only move, and knight takes f8 check is really important. It's a double check, and the only way to get out of a double check is to move the king. And crucially, it's removing the defender of the f7 square. King h8 only move, knight returns to g6, now without the rook on f8. King h7, and now knight e5 check. King has to go back, and knight f7 is checkmate. There's no more rook on f8 to take that knight. What a beautiful combination, sacrificing the queen and then checkmate with bishop and knight. Andy Fletcher, the black player, must have been thrilled to lose against the world champion this way. One more time in slow motion because it is so beautiful. Black has just played g takes f5 on the 24th move. Knight h4 ignoring the threat of bishop a6. And there it comes. Queen takes e4, giving the queen for just a knight. F takes e4. And then the bishop comes to e4 with check. And that bishop and the knight are going to deliver checkmate, even though the black king has quite a few defenders around it. King h8, check, king back up, eliminate the rook with double check. King h8, knight returns to where it came from. Knight e5 check to get the knight to the checkmating square on f7. Beautiful. If you don't think this is beautiful, then you don't enjoy chess very much. But I know you do enjoy chess. And let's have a look at our game, Rick against the Chess to Impress viewers. Let's put the moves on the board. We have a King's Indian, I'm white and you are black. Knight f3, You castled and I played bishop e2 and it is your move, move 6. We are in a King's Indian and please tell me your move. What would you play in this position? You can put your move in the comments underneath this video and then you will be in the raffle for a chess book. At the end of the game I will raffle a chess book amongst the viewers who have taken part in this game. Hope you enjoyed this installment of The Queen Rules. Every Tuesday I publish a video in this series. Next week it will be the turn of the Rook. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.